know if we've talked about it on the podcast or not. Did we ever mention the performance ecosystem?
I don't know. We've brushed on it, I think, but
we may as well put it out there. And I think, so the performance ecosystem, exactly what you talked about, it's those pillars of health. So I think we categorized it as kind of your movement, exercise, let's call it physical activity, and underneath that comes your strength training, your aerobic capacity, and everything that comes under physical functioning, flexibility, mobility, whatever. So that's one pillar. You've got your nutrition that comes under another pillar, and you might put like your hydration and stuff under that as well, your food intake and things. Your sleep and recovery is another pillar. And then also we talked in, you could probably lump in the sleep and recovery is your stress management. So dealing with life and things, and probably within that, if we added like a psychological mindset kind of pillar within that, we call it the performance ecosystem, and we call it the first time I kind of conceptualized it, I'm sure it's out there in other fashions as well, but it's an ecosystem that's interdependent and it's interrelated like an ecosystem is. If one pillar or one kind of area of those sort of things isn't up to, or it starts to suffer, what you'll inevitably see is probably a suffering of each of those things with time, because they all get affected, and therefore the ecosystem starts to change. But if you can keep them at a level of happy kind of levels, or happy, healthy kind of inputs for all of them, like when you are, say, trying to grow a garden, you've got an ecosystem of things that goes on to make that thrive. And if we come back to thrive versus not thriving, if you look at someone that is thriving, usually they're ticking off those boxes. And if they're not, if something's kind of falling down in one of those pillars, inevitably what we tend to see is that they'll start to decline over time because they're not kind of ticking or meeting the needs of one of those pillars. So it's kind of that performance ecosystem you could apply to your athletes or whatever, but we can apply it to just the human being, is that you need to have these things in order because our body requires these inputs and kind of the interrelated interdependence of them to really thrive. And that's what we kind of talk about so often, is how do we get people to thrive off their own bat? How can we kind of help encourage, empower people to actually then start taking care of themselves with some good information around those 4 pillars?